Great. Thank you. So today we're talking about function. And I'm going to talk fast, so I'm done in 10 minutes, and then we can sit and chat, or you can leave, because I know we all have busy schedules. Function, it used to be when I started in the fitness world, there were two reasons why you'd exercise: burn calories, so your body was thinner, and the other one is make muscles. That was Jack LaLanne at the time, because this is the 70s. So now fitness has evolved in so many ways with so many different aspects, but this new trend of function, I think, is really, really good. And we need to use it on the therapeutic side. The occupational therapists mostly are already, and the rec therapists. And we also need to use it in our own lives and our own exercise program. So here's an example that I was thinking of. I was watching Bud do a bench press. So he's lying on his back on a bench, and he's pushing the weights up. And I'm thinking, okay, when do you do that in real life? Maybe if the roof falls in or something, but we don't do that in real life. However, if you turn it over and do push-ups, that we do. I read that the hardest thing for somebody over age 60 to do is get up off the floor without help. And that's exactly what we need to be able to do, our push-ups. So I'm not saying don't do bench press, do those, but add some push-ups so that it's more functional. And basically a lot of the same muscles are involved. I realized the same thing with jogging versus walking. That lots of you are joggers. I used to be a jogger. No, my body's not going to do that anymore. But walking is the functional thing. It's what we need for daily life. Rarely in daily life do we have to jog, unless we have to chase the dog or something like that. I don't know. I realized, and this is my own thinking, not evidence-based, that there are two basic things for function. One is that we should be weight-bearing. We should be standing up or seated, but we need to be weight-bearing. We're really good at lying in bed. So the other one is we need to be vertical. We need to be upright, whether we're seated or standing, but that's where our function is. Well, that's where we need help with function. It's not that lying in bed and rolling over on your side or doing your push-up to get up out of bed, whatever. Those are important things, but function is upright and it's mostly weight bearing. So I wanted to give you an example. I said that jogging is an exercise, walking is an exercise. Jogging, you'll burn more calories. Walking, it'll be more functional. And if you're going to be walking, whether it's yourself or with clients, make it a life experience. Make it that you're walking through the grocery store, like I talked about last week, and you're pushing the cart and hopefully not hanging on it, but pushing it and upright. But while you're walking forward, you're looking to the side the whole time. And not only are you looking to the side, but you're looking up and down. So why don't we do our walking like that? Walk and look to the side and look up and down and look to the diagonals. And if you're walking on a trail that's straight, then talk to the person behind you. Let's say it's a narrow trail and you're walking with somebody else, but be looking behind you while you're walking. We don't do those kinds of things traditionally, but that's very functional. And if we're on a trail, maybe there's a branch there and we have to bend over, or we have to lean forward, or we have to lean back. Those make it functional because that's the kind of stuff that we do every day. So making walking something that's functional, that not only is it exercise, but we're incorporating it into our daily life. And play with the arms. So one arm is up and you're waving to a neighbor. We don't walk like that in exercise programs, but practice putting your arm up and maintaining your balance while you're walking. So to me, we have two very important exercises that are functional. and one of them is walking. So walking, whether you get up out of bed and walk to the bathroom, which I do, or you're walking to the kitchen, which I also do a lot of, but whatever it is, make that walking functional. Make sure you're not stepping over the dog when you're walking. So walk and step forward. It's like the grocery store that I talked about. As you're pushing that cart and you're looking to the side, somebody moves in front of you to pick something off the shelving there, and you have to stop. So walk and stop. And then you have to slow down because there's a little kid there coming around, and then you have to go around somebody. So don't just walk in a straight line. I guess that's one of the main things. And start to use the whole body to tilt, the arms to tilt, the head to move, whatever it is. The other exercise that I think is really important is called sit to stand skills. Those of you who are therapists call it sit to stand. Those of you who aren't call it squats. When we can't walk, we can't live independently anymore. We have to have somebody there to help us. When we can't get up out of a chair, or as many people say, off the toilet, we cannot live independently. We have to have somebody helping us. Those are two really, really important functional skills that we can incorporate into any program that we're doing, whether it's a program for ourselves or a program for other people. So sit to stand. When you're getting up out of the chair, try to get up without using your arms. Try to get up without having to bend forward so far that your head is practically touching the floor. Think about getting up off the couch and the cat is sitting there, and you have to get up instead of with 2 feet like you do with a squat. You have to get up with 1 foot over the other because the cats don't move. Dogs will move out of the way. Cats aren't going to move out of the way. So you have to stand up with your legs crossed. Practice doing that. Do your squats with your feet in a diagonal. Do your squats with your feet together or your toes pointed out or toes of one foot pointed out and the other one forward. Do your squats leaning to the side. In athletic training, it's called variable squats. And they realize that the basketball player doesn't bend down, dribble the ball in front of him, pick it up and shoot unless he's doing a free throw. Instead, he bends down, dribbles the ball, grabs it, twists, and shoots behind him. That is a variable squat. And I don't do that, but I do unload the dishwasher. And to me, it's the same thing. Instead of a squat on just the sagittal plane, just being forward, I don't open the dishwasher and squat and take stuff out. I open the dishwasher and I bend over, lift stuff out, put it up in the cupboard. So now I've done a variable squat. And I want to do a squat, not just a bend. So I do try to get the hips and knees and ankles flexed. But unloading the dryer, anything like that, reaching skills can be a squat that you bend down and pick up a grandchild, one of those great grandkids or whatever, pick up that grandchild and then put them in the chair over here. A variable squat, also called loaded movement training that I can't get into today, means that you're using PNF patterns, diagonal patterns, and that you're doing asymmetrical loading. Asymmetrical loading simply means that instead of holding things straight in front of us, we put them off to the side. And that's our function. We tend to train people with symmetrical loading. So we want to get that function to the side. If you're walking with a backpack, how many times do you put it over both shoulders? Instead, you put it over one shoulder. Nancy is smiling because I can tell she does this. You put it over one shoulder and you walk. That's asymmetrical loading. And that's what we need to teach people to do. A functional skill would be reaching. And I don't have this listed as, I mean, my 2 most important are walking and squatting, but reaching, besides picking up the child and putting him in the chair, think about taking a dish that you want to put in the middle of the table and you start to reach over there, but you can't reach it. So you do one-handed because then you can reach further because you're getting that rotation, the spinal rotation. And then you still can't quite reach. So you pick up that back leg and you're on one foot balanced over that table in order to get that dish there, because that's how we live. That's our function. We do not take that dish to the side of the table, move the chairs, move the people out of the way, walk right up to it and set that dish down. We don't live in single plane. We're multiplanar people. So reaching, another one would be bicep curls. And this is, you have my two important ones, walk and sit to stand or squat. Bicep curls, thank you, Linda. Bicep curls, we do them alternate, we do them out here, we do them everywhere, but when do we ever teach somebody to take a fork and pick up the food and bring it in? I know you OTs do that. I know the rec therapists do that, but we need to use that diagonal bicep curl. We need to use, if you're doing jumping jacks, we don't do those in traditional life. When do you do a jumping jack at home? But think about a side lunge. Take it down to a side lunge and step out to the side. We have to weight shift to the side in order to walk. So it's a very functional thing if you change it to a lunge. And if you make it slow enough, it's very functional because you have that weight shift and then you come back and you have a weight shift and not just to the side, but to the diagonal, to the back diagonal, forward, back, everywhere, everything. And I know I ran out of time. So now it's your turn. Okay, now I'm picking up my drink, and you see that here's another functional thing. I did not do this with two arms out to the side and bringing it in.
Hey,
So
I can talk. I have to talk because I'm going to have to leave. Hey, I truly work on all functional movement, but I also teach sit to stand. But I teach how to do it because what happens is we have a lot of quad dominant elderly folks, and so getting them to fire those butt muscles on cue takes practice. And I mean, I teach a 12-week course on this, and it's not until about week 8 now I'm having them load it with a resistant band or weights. Um, the whole functional movement thing and moving in all directions route that really hits home. That affirms everything I'm doing in my classes. So thank you.
perfect.
Yeah. A lot of weight shifting. I use a bean bag to weight shift and teach that. And then we use the bean bag to reach and then pull back in all directions. And
Perfect.
I also, it's hard for them. They have to learn how to cross midline and reach. And I tell them, we live in a unilateral world. What are you going to do? Shuffle your feet to open, your refrigerator to get something out?
Right.
No, you're going to turn and you're going to open it up, but you have to keep practicing these things. And
Right.
they
And
love it.
you're absolutely right, is that you have to teach sit to stand skills. You have
You
to teach
do.
people how to do it. And I use the heavy concept a lot in the water. I'll have them stand on a noodle and bend both noodles and bend both legs and press it down. But it's not this course. So
No, but I
you're
teach it in land.
absolutely right.
Yeah. I teach it all on land, everything I teach, but I teach semi-fit, well, independent through fit. And even those people, I'm finding that when they hit about 69, now they're like, oh my gosh, I have to figure this out.
Several of us are offended.
I'm sorry, but I teach a lot of people who are 68 to 85. And they come to my class because they know that they have got to get it together because they want to be independent as long as possible.
Right.
So
Thank you, Patricia Benjamin. Go get on that river and start
I
paddling.
am, and until I get a holler that Frank's here, I'm going to stay on if that's okay.
Okay.
All right.
So Ruth, I wanted to
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
I teach us, Fall Proof Your Life course, 8-week course too, but in my regular stability, I teach a class called Stability, once a week. And one of the exercises, I'm looking at your clock behind you, Ruth, because I love lunging around the clock. I don't know if you guys do that,
Yes,
but
absolutely.
the way that you were saying, lunge to 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4, just take that right foot, lunge around, 12 to 6, and then take over 7 to 12, your left leg. And, it's so interesting watching their gait. There's so many different things I can watch and seeing them move. And they know, like, oh, I haven't been there before. I need to go there, and it's like, I love it too for the functionality, but that's just I tell them it's lunging around the clock, not lounging around the clock. And they love it, but it's just one exercise I use, but it reminds me because all I do is talk about the weight shift. And, like you say, how am I going to get back once I get there? So,
And see, that's the thing. What you're teaching is how you get back, is that
function. Yeah.
it's so common that you can reach really far. Can you
Mhm.
recover? You can
Right.
lunge really far. Can you recover? And you're teaching them how to get back, but not part of this course. But I love it. Thank you for
Yeah.
bringing it
It's
up.
just-
And the clock, I don't just do 1 to 6 on one side. I make them do 9, 10. I make them cross
Yeah.
midline like
Yeah, I
Patricia
go
was
back
saying. Yeah,
Right.
you go all
one
the
way
way
and then the
around.
other way, but
Perfect.
it's just easy. And they know a clock, young people don't understand the clock, but it's like our older adults still like and have a good visual. It's easy.
Perfect.
Easy.
Wait a minute, Patricia. Somebody else want to jump in?
Oh, that's fine. I'm just saying you have to teach them about power too, because in order to get back, they have to be able to push with power. To get back if they go too far before you know what I'm saying? If they reach to 12 o'clock and they're like way over, how are you going to get yourself back? You have to
Right.
be able to power yourself without falling.
And that's,
Or
I use the heavy concept for that because I find that people are using their legs and their torso and their head a lot to move them around. And the heavy concept makes it come from the torso, which is where balance is. Yeah.
right,
That's
and that
pretty-
happens about week 6. I start
perfect.
7, right?
Perfect. Okay. Jane, you have any? Oh, Mo, you have something to say?
Oh, I don't know. It's very, can you hear me?
Sure.
Yes. Um, when I would start a program, I always did, kicks around the clock. So I like that concept. Really like what you said about the crossing the legs when you're getting up from a sit. That's something I'm gonna have to try. Uh, varying the legs in a different position. Yeah, Ruth knows my husband has just stopped being able to move, and it's just I am putting all of my skills in practice here, trying to help teach him how to move again. It's challenging. So these basics are so important.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you,
you,
Mo.
Ruth.
That's very nice. And I think there's a reason we do what we do when we can, because then our job is to apply it. And
In life,
you are,
yeah.
you are. Thank you. Anybody else?
And I use the clock concept a lot. So thanks, Ruth, for having this. And I also use like all your imagery and visualization because they're, when you make it a bicep curl, they're like 1, 2. And if you make it like, oh, well, you got to get the laundry out. And then they lean down and lean back because even that leaning forward and back and side, like just a little bit of that variation that we do in normal life. And then they go, oh, now I come here because I know I need this because, and I get a response that, oh, well, now it's easier for me to get the first dish out of my cabinet and put it down on my counter. And then I said, well, you're reaching for your coffee. So when I'm in a group setting, it's harder to give the concepts and I make jokes. But when I'm in the one-on-one and then they're like, oh, you have a method to that. I said, yeah, there's a method to the madness, but really emphasizing of why they're doing something. And even with the stepping, I was also going to say, one thing I share with my clients is that where they sit in the chair, like if some of them are all the way back against the back of the chair, and then they're in the middle part of the chair, and then they're in the front part of the chair, and then their feet go, like they were told never in workout world, never put your knee over your toe, you know, and it's like, but when your feet are underneath your chair, because some people's natural stance when you're observing them, it's under their chair. And then when you ask them to put their foot under their chair, they're like, I don't know if I could do that. But that's how they sit. So it's just looking at what is their natural ability, and then also placing them, like go onto the corner part of the chair, and you know, and they'll be like, but I'm gonna fall. And I'm like, you were just there when I was talking to you.
This is perfect. Thanks, Meg. That's applying those things and thinking of those things and making it daily life is perfect. Thank you for commenting. And
When I suggest people to squat, they say, "Oh, I can't squat. My knees are too weak." I'm like, do you sit on the toilet? Yeah. So let's work from there, you know?
I always use the porta-john. Like if you go to a porta-john, and I'm like, and you can't touch anything. And then they get like grossed out, and they're like, no, I get it now.
Uh-huh.
Perfect.
Good.
Linda, you
Yeah.
wanted to say something?
Yeah, I find a lot going back to some of the arm exercises when I substitute for different classes who the instructors are in their late 30s, 40s. All of the, we use hand weights and all of them go really, really quick. And I have the hardest time convincing them to slow down and to do it to my count of 8 slowly. And they all need to do that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's
With that,
another tough one.
just with that, I like the elevator concept with that, when they do the 1 to 8, like first floor, second floor, third floor.
Hmm.
That's nice.
That's
Anyway,
perfect.
thought process.
You know what? I do push that sometimes, Meg. They have to learn to have power. I mean, we have to build muscle power. And that's how you do it. You do like 4 fast, 4 slow.
Yes, tempo.
'Cause you have to be able to turn that system on and off.
Yep, tempo.
Okay, Meg's background is music. She knows all about tempo. But there's another thing that's very functional is in exercise, we tend to go at one speed. In
Yeah.
life, we are constantly changing speed.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
yes, is there anyone who hasn't said anything, who hasn't jumped in, who would like to?
So Ruth, it's Nancy.
Oh.
I'd just like to thank everybody for sharing this. I come from the fitness side. I teach 8 or 9 classes a week, and I do have a specialty class called Aqua Flow. And so much of what we've talked about in just these first 2 weeks really apply to what I do. But we do have another instructor who teaches this with a lot of bouncing and cardio. And I've heard these comments about slowing down and thinking about power. And so I spend a lot of my time slowing people down, thinking about the power. And I get a ton of comments. It's like, well, I was sore. And I'm like, yeah, but you did the same moves you did in the bouncing class, but because you had to slow it down and you had to be grounded, you really worked those muscles. And everything I'm hearing here, and I have about 2 pages of notes just from today, really reinforce that slowing down, thinking about function. We do a ton of walking in the class, and I actually took the ideas from last week when we started doing our walking patterns and looking over the shoulders. And then I made them walk the other way, and they're like, whoa, what is going on? I'm like, well, first we created a little bit of turbulence in the water going forward and back. And now I've made you walk across it, looking the opposite direction. So again, I just thank everybody here for sharing their thoughts and ideas.
Oh, thank you, Nancy. That
Yeah.
was awesome. I love this part. Edie, had you wanted to jump in?
Not this week. It's been, no, I mean, it's been a while since I've been teaching in the water, although I've used it on myself. I recently relocated and I have a pool available to me, which is awesome. And I've had a lot of problems with my knees and my back, and I can't tell which one is which. But having used the pool, I go back to a lot of the things. I've had the pool to myself. And
Oh,
I have created a
nice.
turbulence and then change direction, go back the other way. I'm going, oh yeah, I'm remembering all this stuff. And so it has been particularly wonderful for myself. I know I'll have more to suggest next week because myofascial release is something else that I've done a lot of.
Oh,
And so I'm looking forward to that as well. This has been great because I'm hoping to still be able to teach classes, but I just have relocated, so I don't know where I'm going to be.
ooh, speaking of teaching, I better throw this in. I am teaching for ATRI, AEA today, this week, Wednesday, on putting together programs for mixed populations. So here's the exercise. Here are variations you can make, that kind of thing, just so you know about it. And it's aea.wave if you're interested in reading about it. I had to put that in. Linda, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, two things. For that, I can send the whole email list, the thing on AEA Wave on the program this week, if you'd like. And second of all, you're talking about turbulence in the water and looking one way or the other. When I had at least maybe a group of 9 people in the pool, I would have them separate themselves into a grid, maybe like 4 or 5 feet apart from each other, side to side and front to back. And then I would do unpredictable command technique things on walking and looking, but then telling them they had to stay in their grid position. And that really knocked them for a loop, but they had a lot of fun.
That would be.
Any,
Oh,
anyone else want to jump in?
Yeah, well, it's Bonnie here. I'd like to jump in, not as an instructor, but as a patient. So we normally just do, plantar and dorsiflexion, and we don't really think too much about it. We just do it, for the sake of doing it. Well, I'll tell you, if you can't do that, you are right out of it because you need to have that as your base. I do it everywhere. I do it when I'm laying in bed. I do it when I'm sitting on the toilet. I do it when I'm walking because you really need to get back to basics. But I'll tell you, when you got both knees that are not working, you need to be able to lift those toes up and you need to get those muscles working. So just as a patient, just letting you know, it seems like
Boy,
it's
that's
not
the
a very
truth.
big exercise, but it is phenomenal.
Foot and ankle mobility, as I mentioned last week, key.
Mhm.
And it's our first defense in balance, but it also is our first practice for function. So thank you, Bonnie, and I hope you're back to teaching soon.
Me too.
That knee replacement will heal. Anybody else?
I can add to that just because since I had a calf pull or a gastric pull or Achilles tendon, and with the work that we've done with I Chi, I could feel exactly where it is in the bottom of the foot, where it hits that spot in my leg. Because I could walk better because I'm aware of, what's the word, compensating for it, but right when it hits that point, and I was in the pool, and I'm out of work, because I'm everywhere land, but I really have learned a lot where the balance and the pressure goes in the foot to activate that muscle because it'll fire. And it's very helpful because you still have to do the dorsiflexion and plantar flexion, but it's been a real education and going, what an opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
But see, that's what I think all of us who are a little bit older, we all understand that completely because the things that have happened to us have taught us. And now we have more empathy, but we also understand concepts and muscle recruitment and compensation, those kinds of things better than we ever did.
Yeah.
Are we set for today? And
Yeah.
I'll see you next Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna,
Lori says she's been lunging around the clock. Right.
Good.
Lunge around the clock.
Jane wants to say something?
Oh,
Oh,
hi, Jane.
yeah, I would, about walking and just function in general. When you're using your legs in the squats, you're basically using your hips, your knees, and your ankles. And when the flexibility or function changes in one, then the others have to compensate. So, you know, if you've got two new knees and one bends to 35 degrees and one bends to only 50, then those others, your ankles need to compensate, your knee, your hip, your muscles. So that's true all over us. And we all have injuries, new parts, new everything.
Right. Thanks, Jane. Jane specializes in Feldenkrais, which is one of my faves. So
Cool.
that's good. We're all
Yeah.
set, and I'll see you next Sunday. I'll just be getting
Mm.
home, so I might be even more scattered than normal. Well, I don't know if that's possible. Okay.
See ya
I'll
all.
see you then.
Bye, good to see everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Good to see
Thanks.
you.
Bye, Ruth.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.